And we are back on the Epic Success Podcast. I am Len Giancola. I'm with my man, Mark Yagi. And today we are going to talk about the Epic Success Mindset. We're going to get into how to be successful in everything in life. Mark is going to lead the call. I'm going to chime in. We're going to have some back and forth conversation. Hope you guys enjoy it. Mark, how are you today?
I'm awesome, Len. How are you this morning?
Doing great. Beautiful day.
Let's have a little fun and teach some people some really cool skill sets about their mind, which is one of my favorite things to study. It's how do you get results in life? And, I have this saying, Len, that life is a formula, right? And so if you, in any formula, if you have a certain number of variables, if you can repeat those variables over and over, you end up with the same results, like algebra, right? X plus Y equals Z. Those variables, if you just know what those are, you can repeat those variables. And so that's what I like to do, is like break it down into certain variables, knowing that if you apply those variables, you get a result. So for example, if I were to say to you or any listener, hey, slump your shoulders over, you put your mouth in a frown, look sad, feel sad, start thinking about some, thoughts about when something bad happened to you or somebody died. Like, you would feel pretty lousy, right? Like, I know just my physiology, if I just turn like that, it's almost impossible to feel euphoric, right? But if I pull my shoulders back and I take a deep breath and I smile and I widen my eyes and I start thinking really good thoughts, like, it totally changes my disposition. And so the first part of this variable study that we're going to do is that motion equals emotion, right? And so if you can put motion together, if you can move your body, create that physiology in your life, then you get that right motion, and that right motion will lead you to a mindset that can help you, right? It's a lot harder to achieve really great things when you're in a negative, sad, depressed mindset. When you're in a positive mindset, you attract positive things to you. It's just a fact of life. So I want to kind of use that to set the stage, that the formula starts with your thoughts, right? So you have to have positive thoughts. You have to have positive feelings about what you're trying to achieve in life. So you want to start with your positive thoughts. And your positive thoughts are going to lead to those feelings. We just created feelings just really quickly if you did the exercise by moving our body. That was really quick, right? You could create it in just a second, right? Pull your shoulders back, take a deep breath, widen your eyes, smile, right? Immediately you created some cool feelings. So that's the power you have over your mind and your body, is that you can do it really quickly. So your thoughts lead to your feelings, right? So those are two variables, T plus F, or T times F, I like to look at it, right? Thoughts times feelings. Now, did you see the movie The Secret, Len?
I did not.
Like, it was a really popular movie about 15 years ago. It came out, and it was basically like, okay, here's what you do. You set your intention, you write your goals down, and you just leave them. And you wouldn't believe how amazing this is. You just all of a sudden start to achieve things. The problem was that The Secret left out the critical component of action, right? You can't just think your way, feel your way, think your way, feel your way, and expect everything to happen. It certainly helps. Like, I've written down some goals and I forgot about them, and all of a sudden a year later I'm looking at it, boom, I achieved those goals. Yes, it certainly helps in not having goals written down or not having a thought or a feeling about it at all. But if you don't put any action behind those thoughts and the feelings, you really have a lot of trouble getting to that result, right? If you want to lose weight, you say, wow, I would really want to lose weight. What would that give me? Well, it would give me the feeling of euphoria. I would feel great with my body. I have vitality and energy. It would be awesome. But if you just go, well, that's cool, I'll just think that, and I won't go to the gym and I won't change my diet, you're probably not going to lose the weight, right?
Yep.
And so the thoughts plus the feelings and then the actions lead to that, what's on the other side of that equation, and that's your results. So T, F, A, and R. So remember TFAR, right? Thoughts, feelings, and actions lead to results. So there's a formula for you or anybody else to take in your life and apply it to something. So let's go back to that losing weight thing, right? You think really positive about what it would do for you, not just, oh, it's really going to be fun to lose weight, because not a lot of us are excited about that idea. Maybe you are. If you can get excited, so much the better. But what would it do for you? How would you feel? Would you be able to see your grandkids graduate from high school? What are those feelings that you're going to create? How's it going to make you operate every day in your life? You're going to operate at a higher level. You're going to have more energy and vitality. Are people going to be drawn to you because you're full of energy and getting tons of stuff done? So those are the thoughts. Those lead to those feelings, and those create that action. All right, now we're going to create an action plan. What would be best practices to lose weight? Like, we could just ask that question. Like, if I said, hey, Len, you want to lose 10 pounds, how would you do it? What would you say?
Exercise, eat right, and change my daily sedentary lifestyle if I'm overweight, right?
3 critical components. Those are 3 variables in this formula, right? And so you'd say, okay, those are the actions that I need to do. And if I do actions successfully and consistently, then I can't help but get the results. I remember about 6 or 7 years, I was challenged by somebody on Facebook. And he said, I challenge anybody that wants to take me up on this to do 100 push-ups a day and watch 1 TED Talk. And I'm like, I'll bite. And it was January 6th, right? And I was like, 100 push-ups a day. That's crazy. Like, that's a lot of push-ups. But you could do them any way you want. You could do them 10 at a time, break it, 10 times throughout the day. And that's how I started. Yeah. And then pretty soon I was up to 20, doing them 5 times a day. And then I was up to 30, and I did them 3 times a day. And then pretty soon I could knock out 50 at a time. And I remember in this mastermind group that I was in, we had a push-up challenge the next year. And I was like, I'm going to win that push-up challenge. Now, I've never had the identity in my own mind of being an incredible athlete or whatever, right? There were always, in high school and everything that I did, I was an athlete. I played some tennis, played some golf, but there were athletes, like, you know who the athletes are, right? People like you, right? And I was like, that wasn't my identity. But I said, you know what, damn it, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do 100 push-ups a day and watch 1 TED Talk. What can it hurt? Let's see if I can do it. And at the end of the year, I did 36,500 push-ups because I went back and retroactively caught up on the 100 that I'd missed because it was January 6th when I started. And I watched 365 TED Talks. Now, I probably learned 1 thing out of each TED Talk. That would have been, something I never did. So the point is not the TED Talks. The point is that I went to this push-up challenge, and because I was challenging myself every day, we did these push-ups where you take your hands and you pull them off the ground after you hit your chest on the ground, and then you push all the way up.
Yep.
Hands in the air push-ups. And I did 91 of those push-ups, which are really hard. You should try to do 1. I did 91 of those in 2 minutes. And I won the challenge, right? But it was only because I started with 10. And then I went to 20. And then I went to 30. And then I went to 50. And I was able to consistently apply that little formula, and I got the results. And in fact, my body fell into the whole thing, and I got a little bit bigger in my pec area, and my tries got bigger, like everything worked. But it was only from that one little commitment, that thought, the feeling, all that action I put behind it that created the results. And anybody can at any part of your life if you want to, just by knowing that formula.
Yeah, and I think I wanted to expand while you were talking. I wanted to say we could even add belief and adaptation to those words, right? Because if you don't believe it, and you're actually just fake thinking it as the first step, it's never going to get off the ground. And then can you adapt? Because maybe you can't do it the way you saw a mentor or a peer do it, but you can figure out a different way to do it, right? So I'm going to give you a very recent example about me. So I was a low single-digit handicapper in golf, and then I tore my shoulder and my wrist, as you know. So now I had to either say, woe is me, or believe that I can get better again and believe that I can adapt to a different style of game, right? It's almost like Michael Jordan when he was a high flyer when he was young, then he went away for a few years, came back as a perimeter jump shooter, and more, he adapted and still became the best, right? With golf, my index rose. All of a sudden, I'm a double-digit handicapper because I'm not as strong as I used to be in my arm and my wrist, but I figured out a new way to play, and now I'm back down to single digits again in a few months because I believed it. I thought about it, I felt it, I took action, and now I'm seeing results really quickly. So I followed that, but I also believed that I can do it. I believed in my ability, and I stayed the course, and I adapted to the new environment that I was in, which was not the same it used to be. And I think a lot of people get stuck when they start trying something and they don't see results. Maybe they do your push-ups and they can only do 5. And they're like, oh, forget it. I'll never get to 100 if I can only do 5. I'm not doing this 20 times a day. And they quit.
Yeah.
Right? That's like the whole gym membership thing. Everyone New Year's resolution joins in January. By February, they're gone. Yeah. Right? So because they just get frustrated. So how can you adapt to make sure you get to that R and get those results in your formula? You know what I mean?
Yeah, and the belief comes from knowing, and possibly we'll throw this in as a variable, maybe a sub-variable, but it's modeling. I really believe in the concept of modeling, right? If you know somebody that's achieved success in anything in your life, in life, right? If you model what they did, Tony Robbins always says success leaves clues. And so if you look at what those clues are, somebody's already done it. Why reinvent the wheel? Like if you know what the formula is to get better, you work on your short game, then it can improve your life because you can model that easily. You go, well, I know that, but I'm going to borrow that belief from that model and I'm going to implement it in my own life.
Right.
So
yeah, I think that's important. And like I said earlier, what you just said, you model someone, but you don't have to do it exactly the same way, right? If you watch a Tiger Woods video on how to hit a golf ball, you're never going to hit the ball like Tiger Woods, but maybe there's that one little tidbit that does relate to your swing that you can apply. And like you said, pick a little piece from this guy, a little piece from this girl, a little piece from this guy. And then all of a sudden you have your own formula for success.
Exactly.
That's what I've done my entire career in business, sports, relationships, everything. I've taken a piece that I like. Maybe there's parts of things that I watch I don't really care for. I take the parts I like and I formulate my own formula for success.
Absolutely. Cool. All right. So that's basically the quickie. I mean, this is the Epic Success Podcast. And what we're going to want to do is allow people just to kind of check in for 15 or 20 minutes a week and kind of get something that they can apply in their life. And that's just it. Like maybe get something from our podcast that you can apply and work on it for the week and see if it helps you. That's our goal. So hopefully that TFAR is a formula for success that you can put into life right now.
Well, have you seen, let's even elaborate some more. Have you seen anybody in the past that you've worked with that failed or succeeded using that mindset? Can you give any examples? Not people's names, obviously, but do you remember anybody that maybe tried it and hit a wall and quit, or people that tried it and broke through that wall and became successful in something that you can think of offhand?
Well, I know certainly in my own life, I already gave you that one example. I mean, I've done that over and over again. But, there are people that have to overcome challenges. I mean, you can look at a lot of Olympic stories and you can look at like what Michael Phelps did, right? I mean, let's just look at Michael Jordan, right? Michael Jordan didn't make his freshman basketball team. And the coach said, listen, you got to change some stuff around. You've got to figure some stuff out. Like, you're good, but, you're not good enough to make the team. There's a lot of other people. And he just decided that he was going to dedicate himself to becoming the best free throw shooter around, right? And he just sat there for hours and hours and worked on his game, worked on his free throws, started working on his layups, started doing what the coach had told him. And then, of course, the rest of the story, Michael Jordan became the greatest basketball player of all time. But it wasn't because he just thought his way to success. He believed it, right? And then he had some coaching that helped him. And the coaching gave him that belief that he was able to borrow and take it into the future and become awesome.
Yeah, another famous person that always sticks in my head is Jim Carrey. I don't know if you know his story.
Yeah. That's a good one.
He wrote a $10 million check to himself and put it in his wallet when he was young, and he was doing stand-up, and he was kind of bombing. If you look at some of his early stuff, he would do impressions that were really good. Then he tried to do regular stand-up and completely got booed off the stage, bombed. But he knew he was talented, and then all of a sudden he gets cast as the only white guy on In Living Color, which was a black comedian sketch show. And he gets cast as the only white guy, and all of a sudden he gets noticed, and now, boom, he turns into this superstar, and then he gets paid $20 million, I think, for Dumb and Dumber or one of the movies, and he cashed that $10 million check that he wrote to himself.
Yep.
That was just somebody that went through that success mindset process and believed it was going to happen, and how can I adapt, try different things until I do hit my goal, and he did.
He also put action behind it, Len. Like, he would go to the mirror and he'd go, I'm the funniest man in the world. I'm the funniest man in the world. And he would do all these impressions and he would just practice it over and over again until he got really good at them. And the guy was pretty darn funny, especially when he made Pet Sematary and some of those earlier movies. He just is amazingly funny, and his facial expressions were so exaggerated that they were funny. He that is a great example of how you can apply that formula.
Yeah, there was a 5 to 10 year period. Probably he was probably the biggest movie star in the country, right? Yeah. Absolutely nothing. He was living in a van, actually.
Was he?
Canada, living in a van. Yeah, I watched the whole documentary on his story, which was pretty cool. But it really falls into everything we're talking about.
Amazing. Yeah. So hopefully, we'll be able to apply some of this more in the future, and so can the listeners. And this was a lot of fun.
Great. All right, and we will see everyone next time on the Epic Success Podcast.